The Rape Recovery Center started as a grassroots movement. A group of volunteers saw a need for victim advocates to respond to the hospitals and provide crisis intervention and support. When we arrive, we give them a comfort blanket, we give them clothing pack, and more than anything, we provide support in a confidential space. We also have some basic training in crisis intervention, so we have a lot of mindfulness tools. Our hospital response team continues to do that 45 years later.
You know, the Rape Recovery Center has been around since 1974, and that in and of itself is a big accomplishment.
I feel like the Rape Recovery Center has brought a voice for survivors of sexual assault.
Probably the biggest thing I'm most proud of is integrating bilingual services.
The creation of the Women of Color support group. It's amazing to create a space for everybody.
Whether you're someone who was just assaulted and you need immediate crisis support, or you were assaulted when you were a child and you're now 70 years old, we have services that will meet where you're at in that recovery process.
Diversity, inclusion, and equity. This is a center that talks the talk and walks the walk.
It makes my heart sing to look at the diversity that's in the staff and the diverse services that are being offered to our community.
I think one of the greater milestones that have been achieved is the conversation around rape has evolved, and people are having a much greater understanding that this is an act of violence.
Rape and sexual assault happens, and the more we talk about it, the more we can bring it out of the shadows and help the people that are affected by it.
The Rape Recovery Center is such a vital organization within the community. It's one of the few organizations that really focuses holistically on healing and recovery for survivors, as well as prevention.
What we know is that sexual violence starts really early. Prevention has to happen to even the youngest of kids. I love working with really young children. They are so empowered to set their own boundaries, to talk about consent and really soak that information up.
Hearing the stories from survivors and seeing the artwork and the way that people are able to put their feelings and their trauma, but also their hope into their art and into their stories.
This was created by our teen group, specifically having them reflect the qualities that they love about themselves, and then also to start exploring the ways that they can advocate for their own boundaries.
I had a client that I worked with as an intern here, and we worked together for about a year. She worked so hard to sit in some of the most difficult experiences of her life, and we worked through doing some EMDR together, so eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, and we're able to really tap into how some of the numbing that she was experiencing in her body was related to the trauma she had experienced. She ended up moving. A few years ago, I got a card from her in the mail just saying I'm doing so well, I've remarried. She sent me a picture of her family and what an impact it had made just to be able to tell her story and make those links.
Community support for the Rape Recovery Center is critical simply because this problem isn't going away.
1 in 3 women and 1 in 6 men will be sexually assaulted.
Many of them experience a lot of symptoms, and some of those symptoms prevent them from keeping a job or having healthy, functional relationships in life.
I don't think there's a single person in our community who could say that they haven't been affected by sexual violence. It affects lives for far longer than the weeks and months after an assault.
It's so important for us to continue to support survivors of sexual violence and ultimately work toward ending sexual violence.
Without community support for that effort, we're not going to make progress, the progress that we need to make in terms of dealing with sexual assault.
I hope only good things, obviously, for the center. I believe that the legacy of making sure that we are first and foremost a place that supports survivors and their work, that will continue.
When I think about the next 45 years of the Rape Recovery Center, I'm so encouraged to think about all the great outreach work that the center is doing and the hope that we can get to a place where we can prevent sexual violence and sexual assault.
What do I hope for the next 45 years? I could hope that we increase our staff, we increase our resources, we increase the commitment to deal with this issue, and I do hope that. But what I really hope, we reduce the need for those things, because we reduce as a society significantly the degree of sexual assault.
The Recovery Center is hope. They are creating hope for everyone.
The Rape Recovery Center gives me hope for the future.
It gives me hope because it provides a safe space for survivors of sexual assault.
It gives me hope because of the day-to-day interaction between clients, volunteers, and staff.
It gives me hope because I think that they can provide survivors with a sense of resiliency that they might not have otherwise found.
El Centro de Recuperación me da esperanza porque me deja saber que hay personas que le importan los sobrevivientes y su recuperación.
The Rape Recovery Center gives me hope because it's a place where we believe survivors and their experiences.
It gives me hope because it's a sanctuary for survivors to come and start their healing process.
It gives me hope because everyone here knows that love is all, and they love people, and that's so important.
The Rape Recovery Center gives me hope because the center stands for love, compassion, and hope.